What's up, NIO family? This is Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall markets. I'm going to break down what's going on with the economic calendar moving forward and what you should be watching for as time goes on. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. Anyways, as far as NIO is going, we got some negative news that came out as there are some doubts about NIO's next deliveries forecast and their revenue expectations. As a result, we saw NIO get a rejection. We were hoping NIO would try to get bought back up as we saw some range-bound price action, but for now, we're still showing some weakness, and the share price is continuing to make lower highs and lower lows as it's declining. So this is going to be at risk of dipping down towards these lows on the 3.3s if we get another rejection. And for now, it's greatly underperforming the markets. So Goldman Sachs gave us a neutral rating. They're still expecting some upside by the end of the year, but the price-price ratio is falling and we're continuing to see less volatility. Also, keep in mind that Wednesdays, they tend to be green. Sorry, not Wednesdays, Fridays tend to be green 53% of the time, but it's not really changing much. There's been lots of talk about NIO's deliveries for the second quarter. We're expecting a sales guidance of 72 to 75,000 units. And as of right now, we're hoping we get a very strong June to achieve those numbers. We'll find out next week if they end up getting those numbers or not. On top of this, we also saw William Lee Bin meeting up with the 75-year-old ET9 users. So they were talking a lot about its capabilities and what the vision is going to be for the company. But for the short term, there is still some downside risk despite that. So I want to give you guys a heads up about that. What else is really affecting this would be some geopolitical stuff, which I don't really want to talk about the full details about. Other pieces of news include the US markets, which just had some important data. The good news is that for the US markets, we just got our GDP numbers and PCE, and everything was not too bad. PCE was actually, or sorry, PCE comes out tomorrow. Our GDP numbers for what wasn't too bad. That was pretty decent. We did get a revised estimate as it's a little bit lower than expected, negative 0.5%, but our overall jobs numbers were not too bad once all this data had come out. Tomorrow we have PCE in the morning, so we'll see how that ends up affecting us. Also, keeping at a track of the numbers, unemployment claims are at 2021 levels, not too bad as well. Finally, there's been some more talk about what's going on with our GDP numbers. The Atlanta Federal Reserve is forecasting GDP to accelerate during this quarter. But at the same time, keep in mind that there is a bit of a dip for the overall GDP during the first quarter. Based on what we're seeing right over here, GDP growth did slow down. So we're hoping for an increase based off what we're seeing. So keep that in mind. Finally, when it comes to other pieces of news, we had Nike, which just announced their earnings, and overall, Nike did relatively well. They ended up not reporting as bad earnings as what we expected. We expected things to be a lot worse. A 12% decline was not as bad as a 15% decline expected, and their EPS was not as bad. However, just keep in mind that this is a big decrease compared to what we saw during the previous year. Because earnings weren't as bad as previously expected, the share price is holding up well. They did warn us, though, the company may lose $1 billion to the tariffs that are coming out, so keep that in mind. Finally, with that being said, President Trump did say something that could be optimistic for NIO, and that he's saying that the U.S. has reached a trade-related agreement with China, but he didn't really provide the details about this. So if we get good details about this, that could be some big news. He's also urging Congress to pass his big, beautiful bill before the July 4th holiday, according to Reuters. So we're going to see how that ends up going, but for now, that's what we're hearing, at least so far, at least when it comes to politics. So as far as NIO goes, we're quite bearish. There's a bit of a downtrend here. We could try to push for 3.4, and then we'll see if we reject it, continue to fall. So keep that in mind. As far as SPY goes, SPY is very bullish. There's no sign of us slowing down yet unless we lose 610. We're favoring an attempt to go to all-time highs for 612.5 and eventually 614. Bullish so far. The QQQ is also breaking all-time highs. It's actually continuing to break out right now. This could be going as high as 548 very soon. If that breaks, we're looking for 550. As long as we don't end up losing 544, we're still favoring the upwards direction. Even the IWM is getting a bounce here, looking for an attempt for 217. ES is looking bullish, hitting 6,200, very close to all-time highs. 6260 is the all-time high, so we're not that far from all-time highs. Could be looking for more upside. We'll see if 6,200 breaks or not. NQ is looking bullish. I want to see if we could hold above 22,600. If we do, we're looking for 22,800 as our target. Bitcoin is looking pretty good. We're kind of consolidating here. We're going to see if we bounce off 106,000 or not. Might dip a bit, and then we'll see if buyers defend. Tesla's also kind of rejecting here. It could be coming down a bit. Keep in mind there's a possible head and shoulders like structure, but that's going to be very key for how we end up moving, at least in the future. So as far as things are going, I'm a little concerned about this. There's like a lot of consolidation in this range. We bounced, came back down. Now we're in this consolidation zone. So I do think we may continue to consolidate like this. And we'll see if Tesla breaks above 333 to be bullish, or if we break 310 to be bearish. Otherwise, we're still technically range bound on this. So this is somewhat underperforming the markets to an extent. For Nvda, we basically push towards this 157 area, and we're going to see if this ends up rejecting or not. And then we could be dipping all the way down to 154. So we're going to see how well we hold up here. This could dip to 154 or below, so give it some time. On Aapl, we basically have a left shoulder, head and right shoulder. We're going to see if we break 202. If not, we could be dipping back down to 199. So keep that in mind. For others out there, we have Supermicro, which is breaking out right here. We're going to be looking for the 50s as our potential targets. For AMD, we're looking a little bit weaker here. We're going to see if this continues to push or not. I might try to retest 145. We'll see if it rejects back down towards 140. Coinbase is bullish, however. This is going to be looking for basically 380. There's no sign of slowing down yet. Amazon's going to be looking for 220 as a potential target. Meta is looking for 730. It looks more bullish. Google is going to be favoring an attempt to push for 175 plus. And Microsoft is favoring 500 as we look a lot more bullish. So overall, everything is still looking bullish. The VIX is not officially getting a breakout yet. It's still technically on a downtrend. So for now, the charts are favoring new highs, and we're still pushing a bit higher. But we'll see if we get a pivot or not. It's still possible we turn later on. There could be a top forming since we do have a lot of gaps to fill in SPY in the QQQ. But as of right now, there's no sign of that happening. And the market is still holding up very, very nicely. So we want to just play the upside for now. The market's favoring upside. SPY is going to be looking for all-time highs to break. However, for NIO, we're still pretty weak compared to the markets. There's going to be a risk of us returning towards that 3.3 area, and we'll see if buyers defend. Otherwise, guys, I thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely fantastic rest of your guys' days. I think NIO might be kind of popping to 3.45, then dipping to 3.3, as we're technically on a downtrend. Got another rejection today, and NIO is greatly underperforming compared to the markets, so that's not the best of signs. So please keep that in mind. With that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Keep in mind tomorrow is Friday. We do have PCE data coming out in the morning. Besides that, there's nothing else that's way too significant. So I wish you all the best. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for listening, and peace out.